Today on the podcast, we are going back into the archives a couple of years to a conversation we had with the Manders family of Koekje Jar Stables in Ohio. Let's get started.
This is the Brabant Bulletin, brought to you by the European Brabant Registry of America, where people, passion, and preservation are our mission.
Hello, everybody. I am Stacy Pearsall, one of the contributing editors to the Brabant Bulletin, and I am bringing you the members highlight. And I am sitting with the Manders family. Hi, y'all. How you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good.
All right. Well, let's get to know you. Let's start with Emma. Emma, tell us a little bit about who you are.
I'm 9 years old and I ride horses.
What else do you do with horses? Do you have breeding horses?
Yes,
You do. And where did you learn about horses?
the stables where I ride.
How many years have you been riding?
7, I think.
Yep. 7 years.
Well, for a 9-year-old, that's pretty much your whole life. Okay, Emma, please introduce your parents.
This is Jen Manders
Hi, Jen.
Hello.
and that's Weirdo Hein.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
so we have Hein, Jen, and Emma. And tell me a little bit about your horse farm.
So we are Koekje Jar Stables. We are located in Northwest Ohio, Helena, Ohio. This was not our big plan. This wasn't in the plans at all to start a Brabant horse farm, but that's where the plans have led us. We were on vacation visiting Oma and Opa, and the three of us actually went on a bike ride, and we came back, and Virda, which is our horse's mom, Cookie's mom, went into labor. So Emma decided she was going to help the vet, and at this time she was four years old. And then, of course, Opa let her name it, so she named it Princess Emma, and it kind of stuck. And Opa called one day and said, "Are you ready for Emma?" And we're like, "We have one. We don't need another one." He's like, "Nope, she's on her way." So that was the beginning of everything. So, and
What
Hein
year
can
was-
tell you a little bit about the history of the family.
Yeah, I would love to know a little bit more about that.
My dad breeds European Brabants, probably 50 years already, 52 years.
Your grandpa did too, didn't he?
My grandpa did too. We are the 5th generation. Together with my Brabant's stable name is de Winkepeel. And together with my uncle who lives next door, that's just the stable name Woldink. That's all how it started.
And this is in the Netherlands?
That's
Yes.
all in the Netherlands.
Mm.
And my dad always enjoyed breeding horses and tried to breed always better and good horses. Not always the best, but always first in the class or second in the class, but never won any major titles. One major, but my uncle did a little bit better. But those two farm stable names, it's pretty much all how it started. Came from the same family.
Is there a particular bloodline that your family concentrates on, or rotating through different bloodlines?
The Winkepeel, what Cookie is still the original bloodline from 50 years ago.
Wow.
And we've actually tracked that back in some books, where we can go through old registration papers, and we've tracked it back all the way back, which is kind of cool.
Wow. So your family name is all the way back to 50 years.
Yeah.
In books too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there a certain type or style of Brabant that you like particularly, or that you're breeding for?
Oh, in the Netherlands was bigger the better, but I think over here we have to don't go always bigger because otherwise you're going to the
American
Belgium, not Brabant, but the Belgium.
I think we're
That's
breeding
too
more
tall.
we're breeding more of the old style the short and stocky, as to where some of the farms, when we went and visited this last time, their mares and some of their studs are, they're 16 and 17 hands. And to me, it looks like an American Belgium, is just missing the hair color. And I kind of like the big and husky.
If you're pushing 18 hands, that's in my opinion too tall.
Yeah, that's too big of a horse.
Venna is going to be around that. Though.
So I saw some pictures on your Facebook of you showing Emma Brabants. How was that for you?
Good.
Do you remember showing Cookie?
A little bit.
Yeah, you did.
Tatum.
You did harness in hand.
Yeah.
And she was the only one there because she was the only draft horse, but she did really good. And then we have a 4-cart, and her and Cookie have done some 4-carting, and we haven't done it in a while because we've been breeding and that kind of stuff. And I always feel bad. I'm like, oh, don't make her pull me around. She's pregnant. I know what that feels like. So
and time.
Yeah, and time has been constraints. But Emma and Hein both can drive, and Cookie loves it. Cookie has the personality of Eeyore. I mean, she's just like, okay, fine, let's do it, whatever.
Sassy.
So, but yeah.
So do you get a lot of questions when you take your horses, particularly your Brabants, out off the farm? Do people know or ask questions about them?
We have a lot of people that stop and ask us questions on our farm.
Okay.
We get, we're just out in the middle of no place in the country in Northwest Ohio, and we have a lot of people that stop alongside the road, especially now since we have little Beckstein out there, and he runs around like, he has nothing better to do. And, we'll be out in the yard doing something, and there'll be like cars parked in front of our pasture. And I'm like, oh, they're just watching the baby. And, which is kind of cool. And some of them will pull in the driveway and ask and that kind of stuff. We haven't taken Cookie to any like events since a couple years ago. And she was actually at that farm when we took her to that event. That's where she got all her training at. So everybody that was there knew her. We do still get a lot of people that question about her over there because the farm that I work at is where we had her, and we do 250 lessons a week of mostly children, and a lot of our kids are autistic and that kind of stuff. And they were just fascinated with Cookie and her size, and they would literally just open the gate and Cookie would just stand there and let those kids do whatever. They're like, oh my God, she's in with the big horse. We're like, yeah, that's the safest one. So, but yeah, we still get a lot of questions. We're contemplating maybe taking her to some fairs this summer, but it all depends on how the foal goes and that kind of stuff. So
let's talk about the foal. You recently had a stud colt, is that right?
yes.
Yep.
Was that what you were hoping for? Is he a keeper or is he going to find a new home?
Gonna find a new home.
Yeah. Okay.
What were you hoping for, Emma?
A girl.
Was the girl going to be a keeper?
Yes.
Oh, well, next time. Are you going to breed her back?
Yes.
Were we breeding her to? Do you remember?
Doesn't it start with a V?
Yes, it does. Victor?
Victor.
From Dr. Hernando.
So from Dr. Plata, huh?
In Kentucky.
In Kentucky. Because
Very
we went
good.
down and visited Dr. Plata and she liked him. So
He's a very sweet stud.
yeah.
Hein, I know how you got into Brabants. Jen and Emma, are you into Brabants because Hein brought that passion with him, or what's your Brabant stories?
So I did not grow up with horses. I grew up with beef cows. And it's crazy, that silly commercial on TV from PBS or from the kids thing. It says you keep those kids active for 60 minutes a day, or they won't grow up right. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And then I saw an ad for horse riding lessons. I'm like, oh, let's go do that. And well, we've been doing that every Saturday or every Friday now for 7.5 years. And then we started getting into the showing. I showed beef cattle, so I was like, yeah, we can show horses, I don't care. And so that just kind of started it. And then it was probably the first trip when Hein and I went over to the Netherlands that I'm like, they're kind of cool. They're laid back, they're big, they don't, she doesn't seem to care about anything, and would let anybody do anything to her. So, and I think that was a passion, and there was a lot of when we come home after Cookie was born and Emma was there that, every time Opa would call, it's how's my horse, and that kind of stuff from Emma. So it was kind of, she was always checking on her and that kind of stuff. So I would say it was actually more Emma's passion than Hein and ours passion. I still don't think that it was the path that either one of us would have said, when we were dating, hey, we're gonna get horses. I would have said bye. But that's where it's led us to now, and it's just growing now. So, but yeah, it was all Emma's passion, none of ours.
Tiny bit of his.
So,
Fine.
Emma, when did you know that you wanted Brabants? When you saw the baby?
you just wanted Cookie, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I really didn't want her until I actually got her.
Yeah. And Cookie was pretty easy to train, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that helps, is that, they're honestly, they're gentle giants, I've heard other people say that about their horses and stuff, but honestly, Cookie will do anything you ask her to do. She remembers, what you tell her. She has a drill she has to go through every night before she can go in the barn, and she knows it. And you can just stand there and she's like, okay, fine, and she'll do it, and then she knows she can go in the barn, she gets her treat. But if she doesn't do it, she don't get her treat. And I think it's that, and it's just they're just very calm and easy to work with.
The only thing she can't do is walk without her baby.
Yeah, she has to have her baby.
Is she a pretty protective mother then?
Yes.
Yes, very.
Very. Last year was way more protective.
Mm-hmm.
Was that her first baby last year?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's getting a little better every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's good.
He's protective, but not in a mean way.
Yeah.
Just a protective way.
Yeah.
Hey Brabanters, it's Joe here. With less than 7,000 European Brabants left on the planet, the European Brabant Registry of America's mission is to preserve and protect this ancient breed, and it's needed now more than ever. You don't have to own a Brabant to help them. Become a member of the EBRA today and support efforts to safeguard this heritage breed for future generations. Visit www.europeanbrabant.com and join us today. And now, back to the show.
So you imported recently. You brought how many? 2 fillies over?
2 fillies. Yep.
Yes.
And you're going to keep Cookie's full sister. And
Yes.
you've
Correct,
got
yep.
one that's on the market now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about her?
My dad, Opa, he had Cookie's full sister. He said, you can ship her over to your place. And I said, okay, we'll think about it. So you can't ship her alone, so you need to have 2, because first of all, it's cheaper with shipping. With a foal, you can do either 2 or 4 in the stall. And with yearlings, you do 3 boxes in the shipping crate. So, and they never let a strange horse with your horse together in a stall. So we need to have 2. Didn't have the budget for 4, so we did 2. And I told my dad, doesn't matter what you find, either in stud or a filly. So he checked with his friends. He came up with Emma. Emma is actually comes from the same family from what my dad had. He bought a horse when he was starting his dairy farm 52 years ago, and he bought that one, and that foal out of her was the first foal what he had out of her. Sold it, and that mare that's out of that mother line, that's where that Emma comes from. That mother line produced already quite a few champions. He looked at that filly. The mom is 14 or 15 years old. The legs are just like concrete. Nothing, no CPR, nothing going on. So and not at all. She's probably 15-1, maybe 15-2.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a good candidate. So he bought it for me, and they put it together when Vanna, the horse that my dad raised, was ready for weaning. And he brought her home at my dad's farm, weaned them together, and together ever since. So supposed to be December was the time to ship them over, but the shipping company didn't have any half stalls. There was way too many horses who needed the third box instead of a half a box. So we had to wait till the other side of the box was sold too. So they came in February. And if I look back, I'm glad I waited till February. Those, if you ship them in October, November, it's, in my opinion, it's too soon,
It's too stressful.
too stressful for them to. They've just been weaned a month or two, and then because shipping is a big thing, it's not that you just put them on the plane. No, those horses, they get it's stress on them. And
They
I
have to
saw
go-
in February, the oldest one was 10 months old and the other one was 8, and they handle it really well. So
Mhm. Well, they have to go to the port first. Did you ship from Belgium?
from Belgium, from Luik to JFK.
And then ground transported to Ohio?
No, then they actually have to go to
Yeah,
upper state New York, up to the
New-
ODAR, to the
new
USDA
USDA quarantine place in Newburgh,
for 3 days.
and we picked them up over there.
Yeah.
Mm.
Not
Oh, so you
me.
went and hauled yourself?
Mhm.
Yeah,
In February.
Oh man.
They went from college.
together with my brother-in-law. But
What tips would you give to somebody who's considering doing the import process? Was there anything that you kind of gleaned from your experiences? Because you did it twice, right? With Cookie
Yes.
and then your two fillies.
Cookie, I'm good friends with Jeroen Gaal. When Cookie came over, Jeroen sold the 3 horses from Hernando, and I think there was one more. And Jeroen told my dad, for me, there is still room on the plane. You want to send Cookie over. That's how it actually came along.
Okay. So you shared a box
So-
with 2 other Americans, I think, right?
Mhm.
Yes, I think this
Jeroen-
time I dealt
yeah.
with Jeroen too. My dad is almost 80, 79. So paperwork he doesn't do. It's hard for him. So I asked Jeroen if he want to do it. So he was the contact person between the shipping company and my dad. So if it was had to be blood drawn for the import papers or export papers, or call the veterinary, Jeroen told my dad what to do, and so that was helpful. For other persons, what I would recommend, go visit. If you don't know nobody, I would go visit. The
Mhm.
plane ticket is only $7,000 to $1,000. It's a cheap way to find your horses.
Yeah.
You're spending 10,000 plus 15,000 with shipping and purchase price on a horse, and then $1,000 is nothing. So,
Mhm.
and you gain so much experience.
What would you recommend to people who are going to make the trip over? Would you recommend they link up with somebody who knows the breeders over there, or how would they get in touch with them?
Yes. Ask just like on the European Brabant page or the EBRA form, who you recommend. That's what I did with Rebecca and Diane. Last time when they went over, I gave them a couple addresses to go visit, especially because Rebecca had trouble with her AIing or with her repro.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her to the stud farm where my dad always worked with. He AI from the beginning, so that's probably already 30 years. So he's not a perfect person, but they all can share information. So
It's interesting you bring that up about reproduction, because a lot of breeders here do live cover breeding
yes,
and are maybe a little bit reluctant about artificial insemination. Do you have any sort of advice you'd like to give folks out there who may be on the fence about it?
We've actually never done a live cover. We've only done the artificial insemination My recommendation would be to definitely find an equine specialist vet. First of all, when you're dealing with your horses, our vet clinic that we use actually has 2 veterinarians in the building, and all they do is horses all week long. Live it, love it. That's all they do. And we actually use our vet then as our breeder. He has a very nice setup. We do it at his facility right there. You know, we take Cookie in the morning. He checks her. He gives us the go get it, you know, or we're going to hold off for another couple days. He actually keeps Cookie in the foal for us at the vet clinic. He has a pasture and everything, and we leave them stay there. It's just less stressful on them. And the last thing we want to do is give her more stress, you know, by transporting and hauling her baby and unloading and all that stuff. If we can keep her at the vet office and she's calm, cool, and collective and able to breathe the next morning instead of transporting her back in, it's so much easier. Keeping up on your vet papers, your vaccinations, your worming, and everything like that, and make sure they have a really good body condition. If they don't have that good body condition going into the pregnancy, there's really no purpose. You're never going to gain that body condition back if you go in, you know, at a low body score. So, you know, keeping them in their on top of their game is probably the most important.
Especially the last trimester after pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because that's how when the follicles are already made for the next pregnancy. So if they get a negative negative energy balance at that time, then you never can produce a good egg. So minerals, feed plenty of minerals.
Yeah,
and that was something
what are y'all
that
feeding?
We feed Tribute, Calm and Easy, and hay. She doesn't get much grain and pasture. Yeah, and Dr. Plata was one of them that told us, he's like, make sure she gets her trace minerals.
Salt blocks.
Salt blocks, you know, put it in a bucket, and Cookie always knows where it is. And it's kept her in good body condition.
So Emma, you ride light horses. Are you going to make the switch to riding your heavy?
No, probably not.
No?
We have tried because Cookie's broke.
She's just too big. Her strides are just way too big.
Yeah.
Well,
when you get bigger, will you do it then?
Maybe, huh?
Maybe.
Yeah. We had some really good trainers that broke Cookie to do Western showmanship and Western pleasure. And Cookie looks like she's enjoying it when she's doing it. I don't know if she really is or not, but yeah, her stride is quite big. And when she rolls those shoulders, Emma's like, I feel like the saddle's falling off. And I'm like, that's, and I got on Cookie and I don't ride. And I'm like, and I just walked around the arena. I'm like, yeah, I can see what Emma's talking about now. So
that's what's so enjoyable about the sort of ambling, rolling gait. I just love a good trail ride on a Brabant. It's the best.
And it was kind of funny. The trainer that we had on her, he just graduated from equine college, and he was doing the training while he was in high school, and he would get Cookie into a full lope, almost like, you know, a full on gallop, and it felt like the earth was moving.
People heard it a mile away. Yes.
Everybody stopped and turned. I'm like, she's fine.
And I don't ride, so.
No. Do you do any harness work, Hein?
No, I don't have any time. Not enough time.
That's fair.
To get it. My daily job is a manager of 2,200 cows, dairy cows. So when I come home, then I enjoy the horses and spending time with them, but not us riding. Maybe driving in the future.
Emma, do you think you'll do any halter classes with them?
Maybe in the future.
Yeah. I heard that did you go to a show while you were over there in the Netherlands?
A jumping show, yes.
You did? How was that?
Very cool. They were jumping like 4, 5, 6 feet.
No, 5 feet, yeah.
But
and there were some Olympic jumpers there from the Netherlands team, so it was kind of neat.
Wow.
Because we don't go to any of the jumping shows around here, so it was something different for us to see.
We didn't go to any Brabant shows. So.
What is the number one thing you think that makes a Brabant great?
Just how calm they are. Sometimes their jog,
They're really pretty when they
Yeah.
run, huh? Yeah.
their feathers.
What's the one thing people don't know about a Brabant that you think is really interesting?
Easy keepers, I think.
Yeah.
They can go a long way with nothing, barely anything. So
They pretty much get
do-
fat on air.
Yeah.
Yep. Is there anything you'd
Yeah.
like to add or that you would like to tell us about your farm or anything?
We're always open for visitors. Anybody ever wants to stop by, or we have one spare room, so we can kick Emma out of her room. We can make 2 spare rooms.
No, I like my room.
They're fun horses. I think they're like the perfect family horse, for somebody that wants, I don't want to say a pasture pet, but a pasture pet that, they can have a little bit of fun with, and it's not high maintenance. You can keep them unshoed and that kind of stuff out in the pasture as long as you're not on the road. And, they're pretty docile. We had to teach Cookie everything from English to what garage doors were. We had to teach her what hay was, and pelleted feed. And, she was an easy learn. She learned a lot. She learned what cross ties were. We put her in a set of cross ties because we work with light-legged horses all the time. And I walked away to get a set of brushes, and she followed me with the cross ties. She'd never seen them before. She's like, I don't know what these things are, but that's who I'm with, so I'm going to follow her. And she just followed me. She didn't know what else to do, and she had never seen a garage door open before. They're kept outside over there, and
Yep.
So for her to be in a stall, she's like, I don't know what you people are thinking, but so it's amazing how far they have come. Even the 2 we have now, Venna and Emma, it's amazing how far they've come in the short time that they've been here. And with his work schedule and my recent work schedule, we haven't had much time to work with them, but they know a lot of stuff already for only being here for a couple months. And I think I don't think a lot of people give them that much credit for that. Everybody's like, oh, it's just a horse. She just eats and, they're hay burners. Well, she doesn't have to be a hay burner. She can go and do whatever you want her to do. You want to ride Western, she can do it. You want to ride English, she can do it. You want to do showmanship, she can do it. You want to pull a log out of the woods, she'll do it. She's eager to do anything, and she's here to please you, really, not us please her.
So how can people reach out to you and your farm?
We are on Facebook at Koekje Jar Stables, but Koekje Jar is spelled with a Koekje, which is Dutch for cookie.
Well, I'll let you get back to your evening. I really
Okay.
appreciate, again, your time.
Thank you.
Bye, Hein.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Emma.